Alrighty. After 2 hours at 400 degrees, this is the result. Firstly, I forgot to remove the duct tape, and as a result, it's rather melted. Don't forget to remove the duct tape if you're doing this at home. Secondly, number 7 shrunk up quite a lot. Number 7 was that, which is kind of unexpected because I had intended the kitty litter to help reduce shrinkage. But, surprise, surprise. And number 8, this, if anything, it appears to have expanded a bit, which is no idea why that happened. Trapped bubble, perhaps? Number 9, it feels like it's going to crumble. It feels like chalk, basically. Number 10 feels like concrete. As does number 11. Also, this happened. That water glass that had leaked under the duct tape puffed up. No idea why it did that. Somebody that knows chemistry explain that. But, now that they've all baked, let's take them out and test them. These may or may not be harder to remove than the previous ones because of the duct tape. Feels like styrofoam. Does not smell like styrofoam. It's probably going to give me a weird kind of cancer, isn't it? Well, that's annoying. And interesting. Yeah, that's why I was so stuck in there. That's gonna be fun to clean up. Alrighty, my testing setup and procedure is as follows. I have the Firebrick piece set up about 2 inches from the nozzle of a Burns-O-Matic torch. I will run the torch for about 30 minutes, and on the back of the Firebrick is this, a high-temperature thermocouple. I normally use it for checking the inside temperature of my forge during heat treating. It's meant to check the exhaust temperature on cars for whatever reason. Hooked up to a high temperature thermometer. This is good up to 5,000 degrees. This is good up to, I think it was 3,000 before it melts. Either way, My intention is to see how hot in 30 minutes it gets on this side of the brick. Nice and simple. I've angled the torch so that the flame will hopefully go this way and not that way onto the thermocouple. And yes, I will be in the room the entire time with an eye on this thing so that it doesn't burn down my entirely wooden shed. I'm not sure how well you can see it. The camera isn't wanting to focus. But it is burning a hole in the Firebrick. Interestingly, the thermometer hasn't gone much above ambient. The fire kind of made a odd little divot, but it has not grown at all. It just started that. I'm guessing it was some type of contraction. The temperature is 302 degrees Fahrenheit, directly in front of the flame. Yeah. Interesting. It doesn't seem to be retaining heat very well. It is, however, making a noise while cooling, which is mildly concerning. I will now let it cool for an additional 10 minutes. The temperature has dropped down to 135 from whatever it was before, 300 and something. Which seems about right, really. It's about the temperature loss my forge has. Let us see if the heat has degraded its strength in any way. It was heated. Ew. There appears to have been a bubble there. Oh dear. Something appears to have burned up inside it. It was that damned bubble! That's what did it. Where the bubble isn't, it's pretty much as strong as it ever was. Good to know. As long as I can draw it without ending up with a giant bubble, it seems to be fairly tough. So, what have we learned? We've learned that anything that uses nothing but plaster as a binder will crumble. Plaster and perlite react vigorously together and solidify in the can, and still crumble. And that perlite by itself, whilst a tremendously good insulator, is too good of an insulator. What I think happened is it trapped the heat in that small area and melted. It didn't have any way of dissipating the heat over a wider area, and basically if it had anything to dissipate the heat over a wider area, it would have been fine. Recipe 7, which is 4 parts water, 8 parts sodium silicate, 1 part plaster that was just to absorb extra water, but it reacted in the can and I barely got into the mold in time, 3 parts kitty litter and 4 parts perlite. It's a bit crumbly, but it was an excellent insulator. I'm wondering if lowering the percentage of kitty litter would work. Recipe 8 is basically the same as recipe 7, only minus the plaster, and with a slightly lower percentage of kitty litter. 7 parts perlite, 3 parts kitty litter. Despite this, it reacted quite well. It's got plenty of trapped air to act as an insulator. That's what the perlite's doing, by the way. It's basically the rock equivalent of popcorn. But it's got the kitty litter in it to help disperse the heat. This thing, I think, happened purely because of that bubble. If it hadn't had that, it wouldn't have crumbled, I don't think. Which is why I'm going to make another batch of this unchanged and try it again. I am also going to make another batch of this, but with no plaster, no water, and replace the water with sodium silicate. Hopefully that will help with the crumbling. I'm going to try this again, but 1 part water instead of 4 parts water. The same 8 parts sodium silicate, the same 10 parts perlite, but also 1 part kitty litter. Like the bare minimum of kitty litter. To just help disperse the heat a little more across the thing, but hopefully not enough to help it transfer from one side to the other. And lastly, yes, I know these things heated up to 300 degrees on the opposite side fairly quickly, but even the thickest of them is only about 1 inch thick. I plan on having 4 or 5 inches of this stuff in my forge, if not more. And in all honesty, my current forge, which uses the standard insulator in propane forges, well, more or less the standard insulator, of 3 inches of ceramic blanket lined with, well, I didn't have any refractory coating, so I used fire cement. It gets to about 300 degrees on the outside of it. It's burned off its own paint as a result. So, make of that what you will.